Greetings from Rocky Point Road in Cookeville, Tennessee. Today is Good Friday that I am recording this, and this is an exciting day. It's also a sorrowful day. Hebrews chapter 12 says that we're to fix our eyes upon Jesus, who for the joy set before him endured the cross. What an amazing verse, that you can have suffering and joy all at the same time. This was a very difficult day for my Lord. It's a day that, as the God-man, the man side of him said, let this cup of wrath, let this future pain and suffering pass from me. However, we have one of the sweetest words following that request. It says, yet, or nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Good Friday is good because of the endurance and the selfless substitutionary sacrifice of my Lord. But following Good Friday comes Resurrection Sunday. And I want to speak just a moment with you about our Resurrection Sunday this coming weekend. What are our plans? What is the word of encouragement? And I want to do two things for just a moment. I want to just give some perspective about this weekend, because this is, for all practical purposes, this is going to be one of the most unique observances of Easter for Christians here in the States, but globally as well. It's going to be a unique Easter. I want to just kind of give some perspective, and I also just want to give our plans for this weekend, what to expect. First, in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 10, we find these words. John was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. Now, we've already learned in the 9 verses prior to verse 10 that John he's not at home. He's not with family. He's not being able to gather with believers. But rather, John is in isolation on Patmos. Here's a man that, in some ways, like us, has distance between other humans, has very limited human contact, is isolated, is lonely. But something unique is told of us there. Even though John's not gathering with other believers, even though John is not in a synagogue or in a house church, or he's not gathered with Christians in the marketplace, it says he's in the Spirit on the Lord's day. This tells me that John is, on Sunday, he's worshiping. I want to give us some encouragement. We've not been able to gather in a building and gather in large groups for a few weeks now. And it's just kind of disheartening. And now we approach Easter, and there's just a general bummed spirit that we can't gather. That we can't be together and watch each other worship, feel the emotions that are expressed, give handshakes, give hugs. It's just kind of a bum. This is the single biggest day in Christian history, and we can't gather. John tells us that I can either be bummed and let that bummed spirit just permeate every bit of me and even my day, or I can be in the Spirit on the Lord's day. The Lord's day is coming on Sunday. And so I want to just encourage you through the Apostle John that even though it's different, even though this is not desirable, I want to encourage you to cultivate the Spirit on the Lord's day, to be filled with the Spirit on the Lord's day, and to gather as you would gather with other believers, either with your family or by yourself, and sing to the Lord. Pray to the Lord. Listen to worship the preached word, read the word, be with the Spirit. So I want to encourage us to not give in to that bummed spirit, but to redirect that energy into being in the Spirit on the Lord's Day. Alongside of that, there's just that idea of, as Christians, this is what we've always done. We've always gathered on the Lord's Day. Well, this is different. And there could be that tendency to think, if we don't gather, then we've missed Easter and we've missed Resurrection Sunday, and that's just a terrible thing. And this is. Yes, this is Resurrection Weekend. This is Easter Sunday. But let me just remind us, the early church gathered on Sunday. The disciples met in the upper room that night. They gathered. They gathered to encourage each other. They gathered to figure out what in the world's wrong, what's different, what do we do now? Judas has committed suicide. Jesus is gone. It was a very unique day, but they gathered. We find out in 1 Corinthians 9 that the church gathered on Sunday, the first day of the week. Even though this Easter may be different and it may not be desirable and it may be unique and we may never do it like this again, here's what we've got to keep in mind. When you and I gather on Sundays, every week, when we gather on Sundays, we are celebrating resurrection. That's why the church met on Sunday, because it commemorated and re-celebrated the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So, we may miss on this calendar our normal celebration of Easter. But let me remind us, every single Lord's Day, every single first day of the week, every single Sunday, we are celebrating the resurrection of the Lord. And when you choose to gather in the Lord's house with the Lord's people on Sundays, not just this Sunday, but on any Sunday, when you do that, you are declaring the resurrection of the Lord. You are declaring to the world that Jesus lives. He's no longer dead. He's no longer on a cross. The cross is empty, the tomb is empty, but the throne is occupied. And that's what Sundays mean. Sunday is the church remembering her resurrected Lord. So I want to encourage you. Yes, this weekend may be a little bum, but I want to remind us what Sundays really are. Every single Sunday. Maybe God is challenging you to make a commitment that whenever we resume whatever normal looks like on the other side of this, when we resume that you will have a high regard for Sundays, and that the Lord's Day, this is the day for the Lord where the church gathers to be encouraged, to be challenged, and then she goes out to be the church in the world. Now maybe God's calling you to a greater level of commitment to the local body. And I pray that He would honor His word to you, and I know He will. And I pray that we will honor our commitments to Him. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. One other note, this year we may be doing Easter a little different, but one of the things that's tremendous that we need to encourage ourselves with is that there's the likelihood that more people will hear the gospel message than has ever heard it at a single time in history. To God be the glory. So what about Poplar Grove this Sunday? This Sunday, our plan is we're going to continue to do drive-in church. Weather permitting, we gather. Please do not get out of the car. Stay in your automobile, just like you have been doing. Compliments and thank you for your cooperation. But the weather doesn't look like it's going to cooperate. Right now, we're scheduled to do as we normally have. So just come, pull up, tune in and worship and then leave. But the weather doesn't look like it's going to cooperate. So here's the plan. If originally we had said when we launched Drive-In Church that it was rain or shine, we're going to have to probably peel back on some of that statement, because if we're going to live stream and where we would set up with to get undercover, it's just not going to be safe for the equipment. It's going to be hard to keep things dry. It's going to be hard to live stream. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to make a clean call. If it rains, we just won't gather. We will make that call we're going to make it Saturday, tomorrow, Saturday afternoon by about 3 o'clock. We'll make a final call and just try to look at the weather, the weathercast for Sunday. But right at this point, it looks like it's just going to be kind of a washout, some thunderstorms. And so, but we'll make that final call on Saturday at 3 o'clock, and then at that point, we'll just blast it out on Facebook, Instagram, emails, all those types of things. So go to our website Saturday evening, and you'll see an update on that. Okay? Church, I love you. Boy, you've been so helpful. Just to hearing how you are ministering to others through this time has been very encouraging. Thank you for who you are, for what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to what God is just kind of seeing some of the fruit of all of this. This has not caught him by surprise. God is not only on his throne, but he's in control. So I pray a spirit of hope just exudes from all of us. The world is watching. May they see Jesus in us. I love you, and I look forward to worshiping with you, whether face-to-face or via this camera. I look forward to worshiping with you. May God bless you. To him be the glory forever. Amen.